Hello everybody and welcome to yet another Stellaris video. Today I wanted to do a build showcase on synthetic fertility. It is still one of the most ridiculously powerful builds in Stellaris history, and probably represents the best scaling build maybe in the entire game. I believe probably only purity based bio builds can compete, and that is mostly thanks to late game purity having a lot of efficiency bonuses that I'm not sure that robots have access to through cosmogenesis. But this scales much harder, especially if you don't take cosmogenesis or fallen empire buildings. And you can get some ridiculous early game stat lines. Like we're making 4K tech and 1,000 plus alloys, including a 500 navcat fleet at just year 50 in the game. And we have 3 Ecumenopolises, which have all finished at this point 5 or 6 years ago. And these are just building up at the maximum speed at which the game allows us to build. We have such a large excess of minerals and energy, I cannot be bothered to spend them. And yeah, how did we get here? So I'm going to show you guys how to optimize your species templates first, as this is something you're going to want to do in every robot game anyway, and that is you're going to want 3 templates. The first one, you're going to want only about 2,000 of these pops. These are the pops that work the roboticist jobs. These pops have recycled, dark matter engines, biometric assembly, and exotic fuel consumption. And you can even have negative assembly traits in terms of like custom made and that kind of thing on these pops. You don't want luxurious, but you want this template because this gives you plus 20%, plus 40%, plus 50%. I don't know how, what is that in total? Like plus 110%, plus 120% job efficiency for assembly jobs. So if we go and take a look at our home EQ here, and we take a look at these roboticist jobs, you can see how we have just a ridiculous amount of pop efficiency on these. And as you can tell, they're not the pops working these jobs don't even have the biometric assembly, so we could get another plus 50% on top of this if we manage to get that sorted. So that's pretty completely ridiculous. We're getting almost 2-to-1 efficiency for these jobs, giving us basically 20 pop assembly on every planet. And then the pops that we actually assemble are going to be these Catgirl A pops. These are for assembly. And these guys have monoform and mass produced. These are 2 traits that give plus, 35% efficiency for that. And then we have our general pops. This is going to make up the majority of our pop base. And these just have whatever generally efficient pop traits you want on them. I don't bother to specialize for world, as I find it's simply not worth it at this point. The amount of micro it takes to do that is greater than the benefit. So we just use a single generally efficient pop. And essentially every single other species that we actually assemble, or not every other species, but the Catgirl A that we're assembling, these have the species rights integrate into default subspecies, and Catgirl E is set to the default, hence why there are the most of them, 45,000, and that is how we manage our pop templates and get the maximum possible benefit from synth fertility. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead and start a new game, and I can show you guys how to scale to this point in any of your own games. This was a pretty good spawn, so it's likely that we won't be able to get the same incredible stats that we got in this run by year 50, but we should be able to get decently close. So what we have here is the synth evolved pop. I reckon also we no longer need to go lithoids. So in old Stellaris, that is 3.x whatever, we used to take lithoids as a synth fertility species simply to give us access to the gaseous byproducts or whatever rare resource trait. We produce engineering tech so quickly now, you don't even need to do this. So you can do something stupid like go to like any humanoid species template or whatever you normally like to go, and instead of gaseous byproducts, you can take the very, very, very broken. This is the wrong species template. Let's go ahead and pick a mammalian template, and that will let us take the very, very broken seasonal dormancy giving us just a ridiculously good early game economy. Where is seasonal dormancy? There we go. Seasonal dormancy is banned in a good amount of lobbies, so you do want to be careful about that. But yeah, we can go ahead and get started here, and I'll show you guys just how amazingly broken this is. Unlucky spawn, our planets are not next to us, and there are no discovered planets in the nearby area. I believe our other planet is here, so those planets are very far apart, so we might not get the same numbers as we got in our example, but we should still be able to do well, since Fertility is a very versatile and resilient, especially because you don't need to colonize your planets right away in the early game. Also, you do want to do powered exoskeletons, as this unlocks the technology that allows you to modify your species templates, which, as you saw in the early game, is very important for min-maxing your pop efficiency. Also, I did the normal modifications there to our government, isolationist, and economic policy of civilian. And then we're also going to go into our species rights, and we're going to go ahead and go utopian abundance, which is another one of the reasons why we want a seasonal dormancy. We can go ahead and delete our holo theater on our capital as well. We won't be needing that. And basically on our capital, the first thing we want to do, absolute first thing, go to your species and autochthon monument. Once your autochthon monument is done, then you want to clear the blocker that you get from being a planet scraper, and then you want to go all in onto technology research. So, one other thing that I forgot to do that is very important is also just go ahead. You can buy the minerals to do this if you need to. Is go ahead and take your research station that produces dark matter from Dark Consortium. Yeah, let's go over our civics here. Dark Consortium planet scrapers. I can't remember if I already went over this, but let's just do it again just in case we haven't. Dark Consortium is just here since we need a source of dark matter, as otherwise you'll need the galactic market to get dark matter, which is a bit of a problem. And Planet Scrapers is here as a generally good boost to pop efficiency and upkeep. Very useful in general. You can take another generally strong civic or anything to fit your taste. And we're fanatic, materialist, and egalitarian. Egalitarian is very important to enable us to actually turn on utopian abundance, and materialist is here for research speed and pop upkeep, both very useful stats in order to, well, maximize pop efficiency. And as we are seasonal dormancy, you've probably seen this before if you've seen any of my videos. We open mercantile just for the strong early game economy this gives us, and I just want to point this out additionally. Take a look at our early game economy, like 141 tech right out the gate without doing basically anything. This is only going to increase as we scale up. We already have dark matter, so we can sell that for a bit of extra trade. And we're already at 500 energy as well, allowing us to clear our first blocker. And just like our autochthon monument is not even done. This is going to give us additional tech as well because we're a materialist, which is one of the huge benefits to materialists. Did I not tell the ship to explore that system? I think I did. Yeah, basically I know where my planets are because I start Sol system, which means one of my planets is always going to be on Sirius, which is a binary, and Alpha Centauri is always a trinary system, meaning there's 3 stars, and you can see that through Fog of War. So you can very, very quickly identify where your useful planets are. And we can also go ahead and at this point reduce the number of farmers that we don't need, reduce the number of technicians, and you basically just want to keep the miners there. We don't really need anything else, which is awesome. And yeah, we can go ahead and also adopt adaptive economic policies. And at this point, you want to go to your trade policies and turn it over to consumer benefits. This will give us an insane amount of consumer goods. And this means we won't even need to work any consumer goods jobs to have an adequate amount of consumer goods. Very, very broken. This will allow us to get rid of our industry district in exchange for purely engineering tech, which you can imagine is going to make us have a lot of engineering tech. Additionally, as you can see, we have plus 83 trade now, so this is why we can also just buy energy credits instead of produce them, which is another nice touch. And we really need to find more planets here, as these are not. This is not a very good and adequate amount of planets we are finding right now. But that's okay. We will get this good as soon as we can. And one thing you can do to even speed your thing up is once you finish the powered exoskeletons tech, which, if you're lucky, will be your first technology, you can go ahead and take synthetic evolution. And this is currently going to be working on speeding up this tech. But this tech is actually going to complete so fast compared to the agenda, which is 67 months. And if you take a look at this, this is only 12 months. Is once we upgrade this tech to being the synth tech, which is like a 15,000 research tech bar, 20,000 if you play on 1.0 times tech. By the way, our next tradition is going to be center construction templates. And then after this point, do not activate any more traditions until we finish Ascension. That way we can complete Ascension based on only the starting, without having to focus any amount of Unity, basically. So that is definitely something that is worth it. Let's go ahead and start with the industry tech, converting it into a tech only. And yeah, it feels so annoying to not click it, but yeah. Anyhow, yeah, this is just a nice bonus. It'll speed up our last tech by another 25%, making our Ascension so early into the game. If you're doing a for fun run, what you can actually do is you can let this situation go all the way to the end, and let basically all your pops on your capital die out, and you'll actually get the largest possible efficiency bonus to your pops, which will let you scale better if you plan to play the game into the ultra late game. I don't recommend this if you're playing in multiplayer or just playing to outscale the AI as soon as possible, which you'll be able to do probably by year 25. We get this stupid event, which is annoying. They usually spawn close enough to your home star base, so your home star base takes care of it, and you just never do the situation, as actually doing the situation causes more fleets to spawn and more annoyance, where if you do nothing at all, you will not get annoyed at all. So that's what I recommend doing. Yeah, also, I'm getting annoyed by the fact that there are no extra planets here, but we'll continue looking for them. Look at this economy. How ridiculous! Plus 54 consumer goods. Plus, this economy doesn't look real. 256 tech at year 2. Insane. Yeah, this is one of the reasons why seasonal dormancy is banned in almost every multiplayer lobby. This amount of tech is not right. Yeah, so ridiculous. I mean, we could even at this point reduce the number of pops working by more. Do we need any farmer jobs? I'm not sure that we need any farmer jobs. Yeah, I don't think we need any. So let's go ahead and do that. In addition, yeah, don't upgrade any traditions. I keep opening the tab because I see it flashing there, but don't do it. You don't need it. Yeah, let's take a look at our home empire now. Let's go ahead and go with yet another engineering zone. Let's take a look at our engineering tech 125. So most of our engineering is actually still coming from just utopian unemployment plus the Autochton monument. I'm very curious. Where's the breakdown of our tech production? Civilian jobs, worker standards, civilians making 14 engineering tech, buildings making 30, and civilian jobs making another 26 on top of that. That is the Autochton monument, I believe. Really awesome. Anyhow, at this point in the game, also, you can see that we're kind of not doing much micro, and that is another nice part of this build. It's not difficult to play until you just start managing your assembly templates. Basically, all you want to do is you want to explore out into the galaxy with whatever ships you do have left after that event, and we lost a few, which is okay. And just look for any planets, because this is a pretty planet-hungry build. For every planet you get, you're able to scale tech that much faster, because the main limiting factor is the building speed, not the planet count, so do keep that in mind. I would personally recommend a minimum of 2 dedicated tech planets, so 1 basic resource planet, and then 1 planet just for navcap, and your homeworld for military resources, so consumer goods and alloys. So that's kind of a minimum necessary of 5 worlds. And any additional worlds you get, you can just put into additional alloys, up to maybe like a limit of 3, at which point you'll need a second mineral world. But with less than that, you don't even need that. So yeah, you can just continue to build up a ridiculous amount of engineering tech. Do keep in mind that we haven't actually managed to roll the engineering research building, which can give you +1 engineering per 100 engineering researchers. Uh, that is obviously an extremely good tech to roll, but we just haven't gotten lucky with it. So um, it's not so important that you absolutely. We get Deneb as well. Wow, what a spawn. The spawn was honestly looking kind of mid at the beginning. Um, but with Deneb, let's go ahead and make another science ship and get ready to colonize this as well, um, as it's awesome. And yeah, at this point, all we're really doing is building city districts. This gives us access to more engineering specialization zones, and waiting to finish the droid into synth tech. I forget what the next one is called. Synthetic administration, I believe. So we're just going to wait for that to complete, and I'll cut to when that is done. All right, everyone. So, I forgot to mention this. As soon as you have the opportunity to colonize your planets, go ahead and do that. I kind of forgot, so I'm a little late on this, but it's not a huge deal as we're not playing in some competitive lobby or anything like that right now. So just go ahead and do that kind of as soon as you can. It usually happens as soon as you finish the droid tech. So yeah, I just forgot to mention that. All right, we're back. Our ascension is almost complete. Another thing I forgot to mention, which you guys should do, is you can put the situation priority to research focus. This basically eats your energy credits in exchange for extra engineering speed, which is something you can do. Also, when this is almost done, depending on the timing of your artificial administration tech, you can pop this early to finish the tech. Ours is in time, so we don't need to do that. And basically, what I mean by in time is when this finishes, it won't delay our artificial administration at all, so we can just let it go to completion there. Um, Not a huge deal, and yeah, as you can see, we're also just breezing through some of the other techs in the game, um, which is awesome. Yeah, anyhow, as you can see, we got our first colony ship coming out that is ready to take our first planet here, and we're just going to continue to build city districts on our home world. One thing to mention is you probably don't need to take Sol System. Sol System on Synth Fertility used to give you a size 21 capital, which was very nice. Now it doesn't. So Sol System is probably honestly a little bit weak compared to Deneb, but that is fine. We just happen to have also found Deneb here, which is amazing. And yeah, we can just I think, when is our agenda going to pop? It's going to pop in like a month, and then this is going to complete like a few months after that. So this is like a very, very early ascension, as you can tell, which is the power of synth fertility. Also, we want to expand the council now. Delaying it by 1 is already pretty greedy, so yeah, we're gonna get that going as soon as we can. We do have an energy shortage here. Oops. We have a lot of trade, so it's not a big issue. But yeah, be careful not to let that happen if you are not yapping and actually paying attention to your empire, which I obviously recommend. And yep, artificial administration will also complete next month, I believe. There we go. Oh, and we get robomodding as our absolute first engineering tech after that, which is amazing. Basically, as soon as you're done the situation, this lets you take the synthetic tradition tree. If you had remembered to not unlock a single tradition, since I have showed you the ones you need, you should have basically enough to complete it. Oh, as you can see, we're still missing a little bit, which kind of sucks. So yeah, we're gonna need 11 months in order to finish this. I guess you could theoretically speed this up by, instead of going the consumer goods trade policy, going the Unity one, but then you'd have a problem with maintaining your consumer goods, so I don't exactly recommend it. But yeah, we can just go ahead and wait this 12 months. It's not a huge deal. And yeah, we're also going to go ahead. Wow, we get another dark source of dark matter here, which is very nice. We actually lack influence to take our second guaranteed, which is quite funny. As what does this take? 53 influence, and then Deneb is gonna like another 150 on top of that. Brutal, brutal. I would say. I guess what we should actually do then is build a construction ship and take Deneb first, as that is less influence to take. So actually, let's go ahead and do that. That seems like a great idea. Another thing we can do here is just enable some of these technician jobs that can get rid of some of our demand for that. Let's go full speed situation as well. And yeah, we're just waiting for the 6 months of Unity. I wonder if there's a way to have enough Unity there. I guess if colonization was done earlier, it could be better. Um, or simply having any Unity giving event proc would probably do it. But yeah, overall, not a huge deal. Yeah, as you can see, our trade is kind of dying out as we have so much tech now. 250 engineering tech is a lot, especially considering we don't have the +1 from researchers, which is a bit of a shame. But anyhow, yeah, once you have finished kind of the tech, basically what you want to do is now you just want to greed as many planets as you can. As you can tell, also, it can be a little difficult. So what you'll want to do is once your basic resources or your industrial resources, I mean to say, start to look a little bit bad, is prioritize a mixed industry in exchange for one of your engineering research areas. You will definitely need it, and you still have a ton of engineering research anyway. And there we go. We're finally done. We'll go tech ascendancy here to amplify our much tech. Very, very awesome. All right, we had a bit of a quick interruption there, but hopefully we don't have to deal with any more of those as we do finish off our last Ascension perk. I don't know how much time was cut off the end, so we might be repeating a little bit here. But yeah, essentially we just want to go for Deneb. I built a little bit of an excess of armies just to make sure we have enough to actually take it. There are actually 0 defensive armies on Deneb. You could just check this and not accidentally overbuild like I have. However, if you do end up overbuilding, it is not a terribly bad thing anyway. Another thing you'll want to do around this time in the save is you'll want to switch back to militarized economy basically as soon as you can. We are just currently unable to, so we're going to have to wait for that to finish before we can swap that over, of course. Additionally, we're going to want to start to look at how we want to allocate our planets. This planet is okay. Let's see, are we colonizing Sirius? Here, we're colonizing Sirius. Alpha Centauri is okay. Sirius is a great looking planet. Subterranean wildlife gives 2 planetary districts. Yeah, I guess we'll probably want to use one of these as our tech world, one of those as our alloy world, and probably Deneb as our basic resources world. And then any additional planets we find on top of that can then get dedicated towards additional tech planets. Having a single tech planet can be tough. Having a single alloy planet can simply also mean you scale alloys very slowly. We kind of have the choice here between 2 alloy planets and 2 tech planets. I think in this game we'll go 2 tech planets, and our homeworld will be our individual sole alloy planet, and I think that should be totally fine, just given that we are playing single player, and the AIs are definitely not known for their early game aggressive prowess, unless they are, of course, exterminators, in which case there's usually not much you can do if you spawn next to them, and if you spawn far enough away from them, you outscale them no matter what. Now, for your synth situation, go ahead and let them enjoy Nirvana, let them mix their minds, hail the synthetic dawn. Those are probably the best choices you can make for those. And then you basically immediately want to go ahead and build that identity complex. Go ahead and slide that up to your top priority. Your mineral zone should have also finished, or not mineral, your industrial zone should have also finished on your capital now, giving you a pretty stable source of both consumer goods and alloys, which will now allow us to more quickly and more stably start to take all these planets and systems around us, which should be a quite nice boon here. Let's also go set one of these guys to auto survey and one of these guys to auto explore, and hopefully like this, without microing too much, we can go ahead and find our next planets to take. So yeah, another thing we can do now that our synth situation is done is you can go ahead and create your first pop template. I like to do something very simple and kind of low effort here. So we're going to go with something like efficient processes and mass produced. If you want, you can also put on something like high bandwidth. Also here, do not avoid anything that sounds like it would be virtual and go towards stuff that will give you the materialist path, aka modularity. You definitely want to go for the modularity virtual ascension. And we're going to do some like basic pop template like this and just set this as the default. And then set the assimilation from all our other species into the default. And this is kind of a temporary stopover thing where later on we're going to make 2 to 3 templates to maximize the bonuses from modularity that we can get. But currently we're unable to do that since we simply don't have enough trait points yet. And we also don't have the modularity traits yet, which we'll get at the end of the event chain that we're currently in from Synth Ascension. Additionally, here we can finally build the materials workshop as well, since we haven't been lucky enough to roll that beforehand. And let's also go ahead and invade Deneb. Looks like we need to enable the pre-FTL interference, so we're going to go aggressive interference and first contact protocol also onto aggressive. This will give us the ability to invade pre-FTLs and take over their planets. This is one reason you don't want to be a xenophile in most situations, is it kind of lowers the high roll of having a nearby pre-FTL. So instead, you usually want to take something, just avoid xenophile unless you're specifically trying to trade max or something like that. Anyhow, let's go ahead and open our new planets with a brand new robot assembly plant, and then we're going to start Deneb on minerals right away. As you can see, minerals is going to be one of the greater challenges for our empire, as we currently have a very, very few minerals. And yeah, even though Deneb is going to have the Stellar Culture Shock modifier for 10 years, which kind of sucks, will more than make up for this just by the raw amount of efficiency bonuses we have on our pops, so we don't have to worry about that. Also, let's get this guy started on taking the star systems around Deneb, because they look very, very nice as well. And we can also now wait for the influence to finally take Alpha Centauri. Yeah, these planets are not the nicest locations for us. And if we can't find any more, we'll definitely not hit the same levels of tech that we got in my example game, which is fine. Not every game has to be perfect, and you can still have a lot of fun and outscale all the AI, regardless of your planet situation, basically as long as you get both of your guarantees. And even if you don't, you will still be able to outscale AIs and probably conquer them on just your home planet +1 or even your home planet alone. Very famously, in case you are unaware, this is like some, I guess, fun trivia or lore for Stellaris, is one of my favorite players and the most notorious or infamous or famous Stellaris players, depending on which side you're on, is Least Fire. And in a tournament designed where everyone was supposed to play with no rules and you're supposed to murder people early game as much as you can, Least Fire decided that he was going to play Synth Fertility with a single planet and basically defend that to the death and scale up and outscale the rest of the galaxy. According to him, he got lucky that game and was able to take his guarantees as well. And scale under a starbase. This was before Eternal Vigilance and a lot of other sources of free defense. And he actually succeeded and outscaled everyone and won the tournament simply by playing Synth Fertility, the only Synth Fertility, and just defending his home systems, which was very, very funny. Looking back on it now that he's not part of the game, I think we're definitely lacking some fun innovativeness and just funny strategies and that kind of thing. Oh, and our synth situation is now done. Very nice. That was faster than I expected. I guess talking about the game has kind of sped things up a little bit compared to what I'm used to. So let's go ahead and make our final species. So what we're actually going to do here is we're going to wait for these mechanical modification points to finish up first, as it will be very, very useful to have those extra 3 trait points. Very unfortunately, we had to skip gases to get it, which means we will have to go negative on gases for a little bit, and I'll show you guys how to deal with that. It is not too difficult given the sheer amount of tech that an empire like ours produces. But nevertheless, it can be a little bit uncomfortable. So I'll definitely show how I like to deal with the situation. Also, there's 2 of these blockers that we do need to clear, which might be a bit of a struggle given our current energy situation. So let's just deal with that quickly as well. Let's just nuke some consumer goods. We don't need too many of those. And just start working on these blockers as soon as possible. I think that's probably going to be worth it. Just reducing the upkeep on that planet, and also building up Deneb as fast as possible here might also be a great idea, as we definitely need those basic resources to expand this empire. It is looking a bit impoverished right now. So yeah, I guess we're gonna wait for that. Political frontier, interesting. I don't think that's too important of a trait pick. But yeah, I'm just really excited to finally get the good modularity species in 3 months' time. So one thing we can take a look here is just to optimize our inefficient jobs. This is something that you don't need to do, but if you have the time to, you can. As long as your crime is under 30%, you don't need to worry about it. There's no negative events, so it doesn't really harm your empire in any way. One thing we're definitely probably going to do here is enable the rest of these jobs, as we definitely need those as well. And pop growth speed, naval logistics, terrestrial sculpting it is. And all right, let's go ahead and finally make our final species. Let's go to this species and create a template. And we're going to do this in order of how I think you should do them. And for the first species, you want monoform, shielded components, high bandwidth, luxurious, plus another negative trait like bulky or something like that, adaptive frames, and then the last assembly trait, which is exotic, no, not exotic field, mass produced. And then we're going to name this, let's just, to make this simple, the assembly pop. I do believe I did show this at the beginning of the episode as well with my current empire, or with my year 50 empire, but we're just going to do this again just to make things very clear in case you missed that. And this is the pop that the game will decide to assemble. Basically, the game decides that this pop has adaptive frames, all its trait used, so it's a very desirable pop for our empire, so it assembles this pop. But we actually don't want these pops working jobs because they don't have any traits that boost efficiency very much. So that's why we want to go ahead and then create a secondary pop. And this one we don't want to put luxurious on it because we want job efficiency for roboticist jobs. And instead we want something like custom made because we're not actually, these pops aren't actually the ones being assembled, they're the ones working the assembly jobs. And then we need to pick a couple other negative traits here. Uncanny is not bad. Wasteful at this point in the game isn't even that bad. High maintenance is definitely not good. Deviance is okay. Yeah, there's kind of a lack of negative traits. Bulky maybe. And then we're going to want to go dark matter engines, the absolute best efficiency trait. Shielded components still for bonus habitability. Make sure every pop here is sitting on 100%. Recycled. And we have 5 trait points left and not any trait picks. So obviously we picked too many negative traits. So let's get rid of one of the worst ones like deviance. And let's put biometric assembly in. And we still have 3 trait points left. So we can get rid of yet another one of these -1 traits and just pick exotic gas consumption, for example. And this will be the efficient assemblers pop. So efficient assemblers. So basically, these pops are only working assembly jobs, hopefully. The game doesn't manage this properly from what I understand. But I like to do this as an idea anyway. And we're going to set this as the default template for a little bit and let about 1,000 to 2,000 pops subjugate into these pops here. And then we're going to go ahead and create a third template out of this. And essentially all we want to do is we want to remove biometric assembly and recycled, since we don't need those traits for all pops that aren't working assembly jobs. And then we would want to put some generic good trait on it. So efficient process is nice, and durable is nice because they are universally effective. So you don't need to micro exactly which pop is doing what. And I forgot to give this a template name, so let's call this just efficient. And basically, these are going to be the main species of our empire. These just efficient pops will eventually make up like 95% of the pops of our empire. Anything that's not a roboticist, basically, we want to be one of those. Additionally, you may have noticed that we are running out of gases. That is okay. We're basically going to eat the penalty until we get to tier 3, and we can then salvage some gases. And by salvaging some gases, we will finally be able to actually maintain our gas usage here, which for now is going to look terrible, and it's going to be terrible. There's no way around it, but we're going to have to just deal with that in the meantime as we try to scale up. And yeah, as you can see, we're already up to like 10 pop assembly here on our main planets, 13 on our homeworld. Very nice. Whoa, a lot of good options here. Arc Furnace, it seems insane not to take it, given how good Arc Furnaces used to be. However, currently, you kind of outscale Arc Furnaces faster than you can take advantage of them. Nevertheless, I think this is early enough, year 13, so that with the Soul starting system, which is, of course, a great Arc Furnace system, it's probably worth taking, so we're going to go ahead and take that. The other problem is we don't have very long before we really need the gases trait, so hopefully we'll find it soon. Otherwise, we're going to run into some trouble for sure. But we have good engineering tech, almost 300, so we will roll through the engineering techs quite quickly and find those gases that we need. Yeah, as you can see, the main concern right now, by far, is looking for those minerals. And don't worry, they will come soon. One thing you can do if you're struggling really badly is just build a mineral or district, or even two, on a planet that is not supposed to be a mineral planet by endgame. I typically find that this is generally worth it as you are so hungry for minerals. And yeah, this is the event also. Just reclaim gases from Deneb. And usually this will keep your gas economy running until you can permanently solve the issue. As you can see, the gas usage rate is not the highest currently, and that shouldn't be an issue. How much efficient assemblers do we have? Yeah, I'm probably looking for 1,000. We only have 3 planets here, so 1,000 should be more than... Some amoeba have flown onto Alpha Centauri, which means we are stuck on 3 planets until we build 1,000 fleet worth of ships. I'm pretty sure we have 0 ship techs at all. Yeah, that's pretty brutal. I guess we'll go something terrible like this. These Corvettes are terrible, but we don't really have other options. I guess I should probably go the Picket design. It's probably a little bit better for early game. Flak, 2 red lasers, 2 shields, and a deflector. Let's actually call that. And let's go ahead and just craft. Can we get 1,000 fleet power worth? Yeah, we can, but it is expensive. I don't even think we'll make it to 1,000 fleet power, but we do need Alpha Centauri. So what choice do we have besides going and trying to push those amoeba out? Very frustrating there. But yeah, I guess this is not bad then, because this can be seen as a pretty bad case. We have 2 planets and 1 very inefficient planet, and we're still going to try to scale up as fast as we can. Also here, I should have left like 500 alloys. Let's just sell off the majority of our spare resources here. What else can we sell? We can sell some consumer goods. I know this is like blasphemously inefficient, but yeah, this way I can just immediately queue up this arc furnace and forget about it, hopefully, and try to reap the benefits of the arc furnace before we outscale it quite quickly. Yeah, as you can see anyway, we are struggling pretty hard with the mineral situation, so this should be helpful in the long run anyway. Let's go ahead and click on this, and also enable mining and capacity subsidies. Even if you end up going over the edict cap, this is usually worth it. As well, you definitely don't want to be stuck and unable to expand because you don't have enough basic resources like we currently were. And yeah, I think efficient assembly, we only have 650 of these because we forgot to have these also integrate into the default subspecies. So now we should be getting efficient assemblers more quickly. Let's take a look at the pop assembly. 13 a month, 11 a month, and 10 a month. Honestly, I'm a bit disappointed it's not even faster than that, but you should eventually be able to get those numbers up to like 20% per month, um, which is obviously a very, very nice amount, or not 20%, 20 assembly per month. And with 20 assembly per month, I typically find that the limiting factor to your expansion is simply how fast you are able to build districts, which is a nice problem to have, I guess. Yeah, you definitely want to be limited by district building speed. Right now, we're still limited by minerals, but that will change, hopefully, very, very soon. Um, Man, these corvettes are building up so slowly as well. I guess we can get rid of this for another shipyard, as, yeah, we're going to need quite a few of these terrible technology corvettes to take care of this amoeba here, so we can clear that. And unfortunately, we don't seem to have found another planet yet. So, oh, at least we found the labyrinth, which is nice. We could destroy it for some free store of rare resources, which is nice. What else can we do here? I think the last thing we need to do is we just need to start maxing out our capital, as we're going to need to utilize this capital as much as we can um, in order to keep up with tech and all that stuff, because we are definitely going to be lacking planets for tech and basic resources. I haven't decided to yet, like, so our homeworld will not be tech in the long run, and I think we'll go tech on these two colonies. Yeah, labyrinth must be destroyed. Pretty easy on that department. And on Deneb here, we're gonna go. We want to go heavy on the actual zones themselves. And normally, I would recommend going heavy on support zones. Like, we're still going to build support zones at the end of the day, but the reason you don't want to build too many support zones is you're going to run out of jobs for your pops, as the assembly speed is quite fast. Like 11 and 13 is not fantastic, but it's definitely no joke. And yeah, what we're going to do now also is simply swap our cat girl efficiency to the default template. And well, that will also keep our exotic gases tech desire like satisfied for quite a long time, as 800 will definitely last a while. But as you can see, we're at -0 still, so we're not even burning through exotic gases that quickly in the first place, as our pop count is simply not that high right now. Anyhow, we're gonna get started on the second tech world here. We get gas refiners. Anyway, we're gonna take that as if we didn't find the labyrinth, as not everyone will find the labyrinth, and you will, of course, then need to build your own tech. And let's also just overbuild these corvettes a little bit. And the main goal of that is just to make sure that we don't have to go for round 2 when fighting Alpha Centauri here, and these amoeba or whatever have flown into this system and is stopping me from taking it. Very, very nice. Physics specialization. We'll follow this up with an engineering specialization. Honestly, Utopian is enough society tech until later on into the game, as there's nothing in the society tech tree that this build really, really needs, I would say. Only things in the tech tree that are useful, but not so amazing, so you can kind of just neglect society and go heavy on physics and engineering. And that is kind of the way I would recommend playing Synth Fertility. Let's go ahead and get these administrative zones up as well, as that will give us access to a couple more support zones. And also, we desperately need more mineral jobs in the first place. We might queue up this quarry building, giving us 200 extra jobs. Should be pretty helpful. One thing we want to do is we want to make sure we start these ecutechs when we see them. As you don't want not having ecutech to be the reason to delay your Ecumenopolis, which you typically want to start before year 30, I would recommend. If you're playing in single player or a more casual style multiplayer game, or you are just like you have made peace with your neighbors, or you can find any kind of protection, you can build up like something like a 5k fleet and try to start Ecu by year 30 if you're, well, having a better spawn than what we have here. Of course, with this spawn and better play, it's probably possible to do everything I've said. And if you spawn next to anybody but the most sweaty multiplayer players, you should be decently safe with about a 10k fleet by year 35-ish. Um, and honestly, if you're not, that's quite unlucky. There will be players who can get 25k plus fleets by year 35 quite easily, I would say. Um, However, if you spawn next to them, I mean, like, that is just unlucky. And oftentimes, you don't want to play for those unlucky spawns because you will hamper your own ability to scale quite a bit by building a big military if you're not ready to support it. Anyhow, as you can see, we do spawn very close to this AI here. We can establish an embassy with them, even though I probably want to take them over at some point, simply to deal with my lack of planets. Yeah, this lack of planets really does suck. Another thing is, in the next patch of Stellaris, rare resources will be nerfed. I'm not sure by how much yet, so it might be unrealistic to have the same level of tech buildings that I'm going to have later on in the save, and in which case you should expect lower tech numbers than what I'm about to show. However, it honestly shouldn't be too significant. You still should be able to get quite good tech numbers even with lower tiered technology buildings. And you're gonna see why I'm saying that quite soon as well. Yeah, this planet is just like lacking on build speed so much. One thing we do want is that third civic, and we basically want the third civic only to allow for more tech building speed. That is the sole reason, which is I've made a lot of soul puns today, but anyhow, let's go ahead and take this. I don't know why I decided to queue Hell's Maw first. That's gonna waste a few days for sure. But I wonder if those amoeba had already flown away, and I hadn't noticed, which would be quite funny. However, I don't know because these ships don't look like they've engaged anything. Or maybe they were just really easy to defeat because they're 100%. Oops. If they had flown away and I just hadn't scouted, oops, my bad. And if anyone had noticed, well, that's why I do not claim to be one of the best players out there. Anyhow, I like to go Enigmagic Engineering second. It's really greedy, but I just love those Fallen Empire buildings. So that is what I like to go. Yeah, let's just try to balance the basic resources out there a little bit, as that is definitely not in the best shape right now. Monthly trade price is too high or low. Yeah, I can probably see that, but we're not going to do anything about that. We're just going to run out of trade, happily. Also, as I mentioned before, economic policy all the way over to militarized is probably a decent idea at this point. As you can see, we're not struggling with consumer goods, and we could use some more alloys for year 30. And I think here we're going to go for this engineering specialization as soon as we can. We're just going to bulk sell some dark matter. As you can see, we now are building up a surplus of dark matter. In case you don't know why that's happening, it's simply from this counselor spot that converts basically researchers in physics into dark matter. So having at least a few researchers doing dark matter is definitely a good idea in most cases. And we can finally start colonizing this last planet. It's just going to be another tech planet, so it's not going to affect our year 30 power level by a crazy amount. But one thing we will need this game, as you can see that we don't have, is going to be a source of a naval cap. You basically, I would say, can't get away without a naval cap, a dedicated planet in Stellaris 4.0, because the pop growth sources there's simply too many of them post Ascension. Basically every viable Ascension, synthetic and biological, both get access to extremely fast sources of pop growth. If you're playing something like Teachers or Psionics, I would say it's probably the third best, maybe even the weakest Ascension right now, so you will struggle in that case. And what I recommend doing for navcap and those is doing something clever, like using counselor spots to get as much as you can, maybe taking Eater of Worlds as a psionic species or something like that, or maxing out your star bases. You really don't want jobs for navcap, as well, your job spots are just so valuable. I would highly not recommend converting jobs into, okay, yeah, look at this, by the way. This is how you solve all trade problems in the current patch of Stellaris is you just sell an amount of gases that you don't need, which is usually a lot, and this will solo your entire trade or need for trade for most of the game, to be honest. Yeah, we're plus 255 trade now. Obviously, it's going to go down as the price for gases quickly collapses. We're up to 600 tech now as well. Not fantastic, but as we develop this planet, it'll get a lot better. As you can see, there's already civilians piling up. I would imagine that this planet doesn't have civilians piling up yet, but we're up to 15 pop assembly here, 15 over there, 15, 16 over here, which is all quite good. As I mentioned, you should expect to get up to about 20 and maintain that for most of the game, which is awesome. Oh my god, there's so many empires near us. So yeah, we're definitely going to probably want to do some early militarization and just use that early militarization to take over as many planets as we can. This rarely happens to me in single player games that I do recordings in, so I guess that will be something to look forward to if you're not used to seeing my early war aggression against AIs. I usually don't bother simply because, let's be honest, the AI doesn't put up the craziest fight. They aren't the best at the game, and it's usually just a matter of sweeping over their territory and taking everything you can. However, there are like some quality of life things that I might be able to show you guys in case you're not used to war. Mainly with the armies, you can. Most seasoned Stellaris players will know this, but if you go to armies and you go to the mode selector, you can actually put them on aggressive and they'll auto invade every planet which they're strong enough to take, which of course makes sieging large conquests much easier, and large areas of AI controlled land, and having to identify which planets you don't have to make them accept war goals and that kind of thing can be very frustrating, and that mechanic obviously skips all of that, which is definitely something that might be helpful to a lot of players. Yeah, this basic resource world, by the way, is terrible. There's so few basic resource districts that we definitely need these expansion sites, the conductive workers complex and the, what is this thing called again? Industrial mining complex. That's okay though, we can just build those up, and it basically just delays our expansion of those planets by about a year, which is not a crazy amount. Also, as soon as you kind of feel like you have enough engineering tech, that also means you're going to eventually want to convert your homeworld to all alloys. You don't want to do that too early, as it really eats your mineral usage as well. So depending on how your mineral world is turning out, and in my case poorly, as you can see, you can purchase, you can swap that over earlier. So once we get to like 400 or 500 minerals per month, that's when we want to swap. But I think for now we'll just wait for that and focus on things like these rare resource buildings on our capital. Just make sure we actually start producing them, as if we don't, we will run out of those nice storages pretty quickly. Also, let's just make sure we keep building this tech world. We will sacrifice as much trade as we need to make that happen, as yeah, I really don't want to delay that at all. Yeah, as you can see, the planets basically expand at the rate you're able to click buildings on them and that kind of, and districts, as yeah, it's just super powerful. Oh my god, there's a 3 dark matter deposit there. Like, I kind of want that. Yeah, I actually don't need it at all. It's barely worth the empire size, but I often have very anemic number of systems, which if you play into ultra late game can be a problem. For ship assembly speed, I honestly never play that deep into a game, simply because as my game starts to lag, I start to have no fun. As I like FPS, and I like time passing at a reasonable speed as well, which, even though I have a very good computer in this game, does fall off. Like, we aren't always able to, and oh my god, we have a ton of energy now. So yeah, as you can see, as you start expanding, like, I think a very interesting, I don't know if you can call this an issue or a feature of Stellaris 4.x empires, is that your production values of basic resources are relatively exponential. Or quadratic, I think, is a more accurate mathematical description of the way it scales. And if you don't know what that means, is when I double the amount of districts and support districts I have, you'd expect my output to go up by 2 times, but it goes up by 4 times. This is because the mining support zones grant percent output, and the actual districts grant jobs, right? So by doubling the jobs, that should be 2x, and then by doubling the efficiency bonus by 2x, then I've gone up in production by 4 times, which is, as you can imagine, like very finicky to balance and very powerful just in general compared to linear scaling. And previously in Stellaris, the scaling wasn't linear because let's just say you had 5 pops working, and one of them was maintaining the upkeep for the other 4. More realistic, like 2 of them are maintaining the upkeep for the other 4. So you only get the net positive of 2. But if you doubled the job efficiency, now one of them outputs for 4, meaning you have both an extra worker just producing resources and the pops are more efficient. So that's also kind of quadratic in a way, but it's less so because job efficiency, of course, still affects the pops in 4.x Stellaris version. So yeah, I mean, I have no idea how it's meant to be balanced, to be honest. From what I can tell, Stellaris 4.x versions are just not balanced, which I guess is fine. But yeah, I do kind of miss the old balance where things are more reasonable. I think support zones, they're both good in the sense that without them, basic resources would be hard to come by, but I think support zones should be capped in their effectiveness at like 2 per planet, and building city districts shouldn't give you the effect of the support zones over and over and over and over again, making it so that like the ideal amount of support zones to actual districts is like 1-to-1 as well, which is, it feels kind of weird. But yeah, I guess for now we just deal with it, right? Like, there are some downsides to support zones, like you have to spend time building them. But the fact that building time is the main bottleneck of Stellaris in general is also, I would say, a small issue. As it used to be just Synth, which got enough pop growth to trivialize pop growth for the entire game, basically. And when you played biological empires and wanted to emulate that, you had to sacrifice a ton to get there. Like, I remember in Stellaris 3.x versions, you could actually go, was it mutagenic something? It's a megacorp trait that gives pop bonus speed and mutagenic spas and a whole bunch of other things. And you could actually get up to like 20 bio pop growth. And that was like crazy. It was amazing. I loved it. But your pop efficiency was so bad that you weren't even close to as strong as a real empire. I say real empire, but of course what I mean is what is this? A synthetic modular empire, like what we're playing now. But with the synthetic modular empires, like, you get dark matter engines and all these ridiculous, dual template efficiency bonuses and all that kind of thing, and well, the result is just ridiculous. As you can see, we're not, like, this isn't even a tech only build, right? We're producing alloys. We're trying to produce alloys for year 30. We only have 4 planets. It's year 23 and we're pushing 1,000 tech. And I know we're converting one of these zones into a heavy industry, so we're about to lose 400 engineering tech off our capital. Or not quite 400, because of course that entity repository is producing 60 of it. But we also have a second entire engineering area coming up soon, so like, that's not like crazy, you know what I mean? Also, we are sacrificing the potential for Applied Institute of Technology for cruisers. I hate doing that, but sometimes you just don't get the role for cruisers again, and then you have a very bad time. As in my opinion, cruisers are, of course, by far the most versatile and generally useful ship designs for all of multiplayer. I think there's definitely uses for battleships at some point in the game. The problem with battleships is they kind of probably come in too late, and they're too countered by torpedoes or even maulers or that kind of thing. If you can't kite the maulers, for example, and they get close to your battleships, they'll blow up immediately. Like the damage from mandibles and stuff for maulers are just broken. A lot of good players say they're counterable, and I believe them to some extent. But I don't think an equivalently good player using maulers would be counterable. Um, so yeah, definitely pretty interesting. I don't know really know what to do about that, to be honest. Besides maybe just nerf the mauler numbers, perhaps. As yeah, I've definitely had like late game proton neutron cruisers and like um, almost 300 speed on cruisers, and then you get some 600 speed maulers flying into melee of your cruisers and just destroying them immediately. And battleships have even less of a chance of cutting them, although the first few volleys of X slots and stuff like that can definitely deal some damage. Um, Maybe riddle escorts or something ridiculous could counter maulers, but like that shouldn't be in the same tier of vehicle. With one of them costing 50,000 research and cosmogenesis to be able to build them, right? So I guess cosmogenesis is restricted in most metas these days, as it is pretty powerful. So anyhow, why is our whoa? I was like, why is our Unity so bad? And it looks like we're a little bit over the nav cap. I guess we just disable capacity subsidies. We don't need that. As you can see, I should have listened to myself and built more mineral districts before building up that second. Okay, I know what to do. Just disable these. Disable these. Yep, that will get us back into the positives. There we go. And also queue more city districts. I don't know how many we missed because I was yapping away, but hopefully it's not too many. And yeah, we're down to 600 tech now, but we're producing a good amount of alloys. We can go ahead and take industrialist. I believe that is probably our main industrialist. Oh, we don't even have one. Okay, well, you can be an advisor then, because you are the leader of our entire empire. We cannot use you as an industrialist. So, yeah, oops. Also, yeah, let's just make sure we're building up our secondary tech planet as fast as we can as well. Oh wow, we're already collecting civilians not doing anything on that planet, so hopefully we can solve that as soon as we can. X-ray lasers. Oh yeah, we definitely need a better source of energy there. And yeah, anyhow, you can probably see like what we're doing now, and it's relatively simply we're just maxing out the amount of alloys we can produce and trying to build up these two tech planets at the same time. Coil guns, great. I definitely did not want tier 0 kinetics. Of course, if you're playing with disruptors allowed, just play disruptors. Disruptors probably still beat most weapon types. Although, to be honest, I haven't seen disruptor maulers because they're always banned in every multiplayer lobby, so I never get to see what happens. Anyhow, what are we doing here? Yeah, we're just continuing building up tech as fast as we can. If you want, you could dip society tech a little bit here, like maybe make one society zone, just to try to rule the third civic as soon as possible to get functional architecture. If you don't need to do that, you can just continue up with your main planets here as well. Not a huge deal at all. One thing we want to do for sure now is we want to make sure every blocker is cleared on our capital, as we're going to want to start the Eki on our capital, hopefully before year 30. I think we're a little late on that already. So just because I've been forgetting to actually clear the blockers, and I'm sure my capital has been sitting idle here for a good chunk of the game, which is a-okay. On screen, who do we have there? Some other empires. All right. This is also about the time where you'd probably start to want to build up your shipyards. Since we're stuck on tier 1 star bases currently, we don't want to not have enough. So I usually go with at least 3, but preferably 4 star bases if possible. So let's go ahead and do that just to give 8 building slots for our ships, just to make sure those ships actually pop out for year 30. It's always a nice touch. We're going to go very greedy here. I would recommend doing this unless you have a very aggressive neighbor, in which case you should go Galactic Force Projection, and that is going Arcology Project. Arcology Project, of course, is just the best way to scale. You need ECUs in this meta, or you'll run out of space on your planet so quickly, and ECUs, like, A size 10 EQ has more capacity than like a size 30 regular planet. It is ridiculous. Or it's probably close. But you get the point. Like, imagine starting with a size 60 planet. That's kind of what having an EQ feels like. And the jobs are more efficient. Like, you build one district and it gives like 600 jobs or something like that, which is way, way better than the default 2 or 300 or whatever we're dealing with here. We go railguns. Going railguns here will give us a small chance of kinetic batteries for year 30. Um, if you were doing better than I am and had an extra tech planet, it would honestly probably be worth it to try to take torpedoes and then roll for protons for year 30. Um, Definitely possible. Shouldn't even be that difficult if you are a better player than myself. Um, and of course, didn't get cocked on one of their guaranteed planets for so long, that would help as well. Imagine if this planet Alpha Centauri was as developed as this, we would have an extra like 300 tech to work with, which is quite a bit. X-ray laser market. Yeah, I guess we'll take X-ray lasers. Yeah, as you can see, also our planet here. Let's just prioritize these city districts. Just max out the amount of alloy districts we can get. We could go alloy subsidy. Do we have that yet? I think we do. Oh, maybe we don't. Maybe we don't have alloy subsidies. That's okay. As you can see, though, we're climbing back towards 1k tech so quickly after we dip down. Yeah, even with only 4 planets, as you can see, our minerals and energy, despite being just one planet, coagulated together, kind of whateverly. They're doing amazing now as well, which means we can start focusing on some support districts to increase the efficiency. And of course, this planet here, where we can go for a second tech district, probably society, because we already have a decent amount of physics from our first tech planet here. And yeah, we probably didn't need to upgrade the planetary capital either. I mean, our Unity is fine enough at 300, and we're not in a desperate need for anything Unity-wise yet. Whoa, we had an asteroid. I didn't notice that. If I had noticed that, definitely would have been worth it to move some ships over. Yeah, because of that, it actually canceled our building, which is so annoying. Let's go ahead and enable resettlement. You should always enable resettlement, by the way. Very few empires, I would say, would benefit from actually not resettling pops. Most of them, you can get something from it, so we're going to, of course, do that here. Get a data-driven research facility on this planet as well, as we probably have enough jobs to make that worth it. We still need the research facility. That will pop up in physics whenever it feels like it. And let's also design our first cruiser. So we're just going to go with an artillery plasma kinetic design here. Pretty straightforward stuff. We'll go with just the one kinetic. I guess we can go with a railgun on here as well, just something like that. Like 3 shields, something like that, and afterburners, as we don't have any other good auxiliary shots. Artillery computers are great if you're countering maulers. I heard line is better. I'm not sure how true that is. That is just information I'm relaying from players that I know to be better than PvP, players that are better than PvP than myself. So let's go ahead and call that the Nyaz cruiser, and just go ahead and queue up some of those. I'm curious how much fleet power this is going to be. One thing we probably want to do is just turn on fleet supremacy for that extra build speed. It's only 20 Unity. Also, we can go over the nav cap. We need to increase our nav cap because 45 is not fantastic, I have to say. Oh, I've completely forgot about our arc furnace as well. Research Institute, nice. That was a unexpected, very random, and very nice pull, to be honest. Let's go ahead and prioritize this on this planet as well. And yeah, just keep every single planet building whenever possible. That is the name of the game. Finally get Mechanics Institute as well. But you guys can probably at this point kind of see why these builds scale infinitely so well. With the amount of pop assembly you get, I feel like most players can figure out how to scale. You just build jobs for them and they scale. Especially with the assembly trick here. Getting the efficiency of assembly from the assembly pops, and then the efficiency of the actual pops themselves. this is like having a pop with like, I don't know, 10 trait picks, or like I don't know how many points you start with, like 7, like so like equivalent of like 14 trait plus 14 starting traits, like just a ridiculous amount. Um, because you get the exact same effect from having both pops, with the downside of just having to micro it at the beginning that one time, and then you get all the benefits for the rest of the game without having to do almost anything, which is of course fantastic. Also, completely forgot, but let's go ahead and put another set of assembly shipyards on all these planets. And let's also, well, this is already a full fleet, so let's get another one rolling. We probably won't finish these all for year 30, but yeah, we're currently underwhelming, pathetic compared to this AI here, who are anglers as well. By the way, this would not even be a bad build. By the way, um, also, in case anyone is still watching, first of all, thanks a lot for watching this deep into the video. I really appreciate it. Second of all, what would you like me to cover on the channel further? Would you like to see more meta builds, more variety of builds, maybe different ways to rush Unity for Ascension, as I think Ascension rushing will be here to stay in the meta for quite a while now. As long as Ascension is as strong as it is, especially now with 2 viable Ascensions. It used to be just modularity, um, and it was definitely viable to rush modularity, but um, with how much weaker early game Unity was back then, you wouldn't be able to finish things like modularity until year 25 or 26, even if you pushed it pretty hard. Where you can finish something like biomorphosis by year 15. You can finish modularity now by like year 22 with resource consolidation. Um, so yeah, very powerful stuff, right? And yeah, that extremely early access to the power of modularly ascended empires is proving to be, or bio ascended empires is proving to be very difficult to match by any build that doesn't ascension rush. Um, so yeah, I'm kind of curious at what you guys want to see. Do you want to see more Ascension rushes, or perhaps would you like to see me try to play with like random empires or something like that? That could be fun. I don't know why this Savantian state is so mad at me. I don't really care who they are. To be honest, I'm gonna claim up this empire now. I'll say, wait, who's got closer planets? I think the planets of this empire is closer to me, so they're the ones I'm gonna go for. I would like to claim deeper into them, but honestly, I don't need their pops. I just need their planets. Um, so we don't need to worry about taking all their planets or something like that. Let's also just make sure that we're maxing out these 2 fleets. Very nice. Yeah, as you can see, we really aren't struggling with alloys. We're almost 300 alloys by year 30, which is very, very nice indeed. And let's go ahead and just for fun, take this empire on camera. Hopefully I built enough armies. 500. No, we're gonna need more. Oh, we're still building them. Okay, very, very nice. We're gonna declare war at them on year 30 on the dot, like we're playing a actual human player, just for fun, I guess. I don't know. I'm equivalent to them, but I'm very confident that I have the better ship design. Also, another thing you can do that is quite fun, I guess, in 4.x is, hey, we'll turn on every ship edict. Also, I completely forgot. If you have spare Unity or spare edict cap, that is, you can turn on optimized identity creations for plus 15%. Assembly speed, I think, quite frankly speaking, we don't currently need that. So, yeah, let's just make sure we maintain our energy credits. Also, as you can see, that's getting a little bit tight. And yeah, let's move our ships into position here, and let's just declare war. Wait, let's see if we can claim one. No, we only have 100 influence. That is not enough to claim another system here. 112. It's gonna be twice as expensive in the war, so it's gonna be like over 200. I don't really care. Let's just declare war. In fact, I only need. Another thing you could actually do is tributize the rest of them. That might be a good idea. But then we can't take any more of their planets. But do I want more than 6 planets? Yeah, I would say generally 6 planets is about what you need. So let's tributize them. Yeah, let's tributize the rest of them. Um, and attack with what we have here. Should be more than enough. As you can see, our energy credits are not too happy, so we're going to use this planet to fix that up as soon as we can. Maybe next time for those guys. And yeah, just make sure every planet stays building, of course, as you can tell, that has been the plan and will continue to be the plan for quite some time. One thing we also want to do here is, I'm just going to queue this up over here. Ooh, yeah, I forgot to build the research institutes. Is, of course, build the research institutes, because those are great for our tech planets. So let's also rush one of those over onto Cirrus. And yeah, continue to scale. Kinetic battery, perfect. That is kinetic battery and kinetic artillery, I believe is the name of the tier 2 one, are, in my opinion, the strongest available kinetic weapon slots, so you should definitely take advantage of that when possible. I completely forgot to send my second cruiser fleet. This is why I'm not a good PvP player. I do piecemeal and this kind of thing all the time. Nevertheless, I'm still not scared of this Grand Admiral AI. Yeah, we're basically 15k fleet at year 30 here, even with a, I would say, unoptimal spawn situation. Definitely not a bad spawn situation, but a delayed second guaranteed. And Deneb being a pre-FTL is actually slightly worse than just being an open planet, because we don't lack pops, right? We lack building speed soon after we ascend, right? So the base pops we had on Deneb didn't really help us compared to the downsides of that stellar culture shock that we were dealing with. And yeah, they're annoying. They snuck a fleet behind us. Clearly, that's obviously what I was planning for, which is why I have this second fleet here, not the fact that I just messed up and have piecemeal. But yeah, Grand Admiral AIs, I would say, whoa, they actually have two. I didn't notice that. Why is... Where did they go? Come back and fight. Don't let our... Come back and fight. Yeah, I know these 6k can beat theirs. I don't know what theirs are, but they usually build way too much kinetic. So yeah, we can just watch them, watch these cruisers take care of that 6k. I believe they should, at least. It's looking closer than I thought, but we should come out on top. Hopefully. Hopefully. Boom, 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 boom. Honestly, I'm not impressed, but we should come out on top. And even if we don't, I can always send these ships back. Like, where's that tiny Corvette fleet? Yeah, at least they're fast. We can send those back. And nope, we actually did not win. So a little bit of a skill issue there. No, there's like a trickle of single cruisers trying to join with the fleets over there. Like, okay, well, we have had a bit of a skill issue, but I think our armies got through. So whatever. Honestly, we don't even have to go back for that. It might be easier here to just start a whole new cruiser fleet and build that up to take care of that little enclave that is fighting into us. I don't know how I let these things happen and make even a fight where I'm so vastly favored turn to pieces. Oh, they came this way. I honestly did not see that they had a hyperlane going that way. Oops. Yeah, anyhow, where the hell did the majority of my ground army go? Oh, there it is. Yeah, let's send these two ground armies over to this planet where they can meet up and actually take those planets. Oh, and here's our fleet that lost. I'm still surprised he lost. Yeah, I guess the ship design is not as good as I thought. Oh well. Let's go ahead and repair them up and go and retake those planets. Retake those planets. Did I let them finish repairing? No, I didn't. Yeah, so let's just go clean up that little bit and then go take over these planets. Also, we can merge these fleets as well. Merge those transports. Durasteel armor. Of course, Deneb is being bombarded now by the remainders of that fleet, but yeah, we should be able to fly back and take care of that as soon as possible. Let's also just keep the planets upgrading. I've already forgot to do that. And yeah, as you can see, also we would be a bit short, but with 22,000 trade, right, it'd be very easy to buy out the remaining minerals we need to start an EQ at just past year 30. Thanks to my yapping, I'm very bad at talking and doing anything at the same time, to be honest. Um, so normally I could definitely play a little bit better than what I'm playing at right now. But it's definitely not a huge factor. It's mostly just skill issue, to be honest. Anyhow, yeah, you can see how Synth Fertility, even when played poorly, is still a vastly strong build. Currently, I'd say the best use for this trade excess would be to just maintain my consumer goods balance, basically until the EQ is done. And as I mentioned before, if you ever struggle with trade, very, very simple solution. Um, Oops, we can live. I did not even notice we're in a moat deficit. Maybe that's why I lost. Yeah, kinetic weapon damage minus 90%. Maybe that was already happening and I hadn't noticed. I would feel so stupid if that's why I lost. It was just my energy weapons. That could be pretty funny. Um, Oops. Yeah, I forgot I had disabled them. Oh my god. Yeah, for anyone who noticed, that's funny. I'm reckoning that's probably what happened there. And look at the amount of civilians I have on my capital as well. I didn't even notice they're building up like that. Crazy. Um, yeah, as you can see, we have civilians everywhere. When you have civilians everywhere, I'd recommend building a Taucton monument everywhere, as this will give you extra Unity production, extra tech, because we still have Utopian on. Keep in mind. Um, and yeah, you can imagine why that is all very, very nice. Another thing we can do is our pop efficiency is so high at this point. One civilian industries is going to produce a crazy amount of consumer goods, especially when you upgrade it. So we can just add one of those. We could also move the identity repository off our capital at some point to give it an extra building slot if that was an issue. I could move these mixed industry buildings over to the heavy industry area as well so that we could build more consumer goods. We could even swap the industry area to a mixed industry instead of consumer goods, but I would want to maintain my alloys. It does suck having a negative 50% kinetic damage as we're trying to kill anything. Um, yeah, that's why you pay attention, I guess, to your empire. Oh my god, I'm so bad at fighting. Not a big deal though. Also, this was not on aggressive, so we weren't actually invading any planets. Another skill issue. I'm just gonna blame the fact that I'm commentating and I'm easily distracted. Well, I'm good at making excuses, I guess. Let's take a look. Hopefully, they don't have too many armies. Yeah, we should take that pretty quickly. It's not too bad. And they're also building up war exhaustion faster than us, despite our lack of kinetic weapon damage and having half our ship slots dedicated to kinetic weapon damage. I guess enemy shields are really good right now. That's definitely what's going on. Anyhow, let's go ahead and just make sure we keep up with our buildings everywhere. And yeah, you can definitely see now how synthetic fertility scales, how you can get mega engineering by year 50 at we're pushing 2K tech on these 4 planets, probably by like year 36 or 37. It's a pretty strong starbase or something. What's our kinetic weapon damage at? It's almost recovered. Almost. Okay, nice. Um, does anyone actually recognize like what your ship is firing just by looking at the bullets and stuff? I heard that it's not hard for a lot of people to do that. I personally struggle with that. Anyhow, we come into possession of quite a few new planets here. So, given that this planet already has a lot, let's see. Let's replace this with a kinetic defense. Let's replace this with a defense zone as well, because this plan is already kind of covered with defenses, right? So I think that should be a decent plan for this world. And then every other world we come across can be a tech world. So also we'll need a second consumer goods world here. So let's go tech world. This can stay a civilian world actually. And this planet can be our tech world. Let's go ahead and do that. Extra engineering tech, why not? Extra physics tech, why not? And yeah, basically at this point in the game, you can kind of see how we have basically won. All we need to do now is build EQs and win the game, essentially, right? Yes, our one planet here producing basic resources is struggling a bit to keep up, but all we'd have to do is tone down our alloys. Let's just go ahead and see how many minerals we can buy by selling everything. Let's sell some of that, buy some minerals. Let's sell some of that, sell some of this, just sell most of it. And we should, in like the least efficient way possible, be able to scrounge together the beginning of an EQ here. Sell that. Sell. We don't want to sell too much of that. Sell some of that. And I completely forgot. Why am I so silly? Let's go ahead. Resource silos. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go super fast until that is done. Yeah, I'm very silly. I'm pretty speed. I've done this many times. And I'll probably continue to do so. Just because I don't pay too much attention. Let's slow time down a bit now. Slow it down. I hate watching time go by that fast. Sell off all these rare resources. A very insane, overpowered amount. They will tune it down, don't worry. I think they tuned it down too much, actually, in the beta, and I hope they find some mid-ground. I would say the best mid-ground is allow us to build multiple numbers of each of the buildings. So, like, for example, we could build 2 gas refineries to double the output. I believe it's currently +1. They changed it to +0.1 on beta, which is, like, 10 times less, and I think it's excessively less. I think there's definitely some mid-ground there that would be a better number to pick. But anyhow, we've gone ahead and started our IQ at year 36. Not the best, not too bad, to be honest. But yeah, you can see how we're just turbo scaling. As those autochthon monuments finish as well, we're going to start to turbo scale Unity. We're going to start to scale basically every single resource in the entire game. Right now, we're 225 nav cap. And that's with this terrible planet with tons of blockers. And as we build this up, that will become better as well. We still have a stage of Arc Furnace left, funnily enough, and yeah, you can see how we would... Whoa, that is a big Void Worm Plague. I gotta stop playing on 20... I'm assuming this is 25x, right? Like, 100k Void Worm Fleet. To be honest, I'm not sure that we beat that. I gotta turn that crisis off. Because I don't know if I triggered that event or my crisis setting. It must be too high. That is hard to beat. That is... yeah. Anyhow, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.